We are back at 8:10. Imagine how you would feel if the love of your life, the man you plan to marry, turned out to be gay. Well, in a moment, we're going to talk to one woman who had that happen to her. But first, today, national correspondent Natalie Morales has more. Natalie, good morning.
Meredith, good morning. Well, experts say it is actually happening more and more often, leaving many women confused.
I'm gay.
From the big screen.
I had, I guess, what you would call desires. I find that I'm attracted to men.
To politics.
I am a gay American. Shamefully, I engaged in an adult consensual affair with another man.
A woman finding out the man she's in love with is gay is something we've seen played out before. It happened to Kiri Blakely, who thought she'd found the man she'd spend forever with.
We enjoyed being together. Out of all of our friends, everybody looked at us as the perfect couple.
After 10 years, Kiri's fiancé said, "We need to talk."
I'm expecting maybe he's gonna say I didn't clean out the cat litter box or something. And he said, I'm confused about my sexuality. And he said, I'm having fantasies about men. And it was the absolute last thing I expected to hear.
So it's extremely difficult for a woman to reconcile this and come to terms with it. There aren't any striking red flags apart from catching him in the act.
Experts say at any given time, there are as many as 2 million mixed orientation marriages. And a new cheating study from the University of Texas shows only 22% of women say they could forgive their male partner's betrayal with another man. But if a woman cheats with another woman, over 50% of men say they would continue the relationship.
Women who cheat with other women, it's usually rooted more in an emotional relationship, whereas men who cheat with men, it's almost purely based on something physical and sexual.
Kiri says having her fiancé tell her he was gay was one thing, but finding out he cheated with another man was another.
Him having an affair hurt more than him deciding he was gay. Emotionally, I still struggle with the idea that someone can lie to you and to themselves on a daily basis for so long.
Some mixed orientation couples do stay together, but one study estimates that only about 7% who try actually make it long term. Meredith.
All right, Natalie, thank you. Kiri Blakely writes about her experience in the new book, Can't Think Straight, a memoir of mixed up love. Gail Saltz is a psychiatrist and Today contributor. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kiri, let me start with you. In the book, you refer to your fiancé as Aaron. That is not his real name. We're not going to disclose what it is. We also offered him the opportunity to come on the show, give his side of the story. He declined, just putting that out there. At the time of your relationship, you say you never had any idea that Aaron was gay, but when you look back now, in hindsight, can you see things that you didn't pick up then?
There's a stereotype of how a gay man should look, act, and sound, and he fit none of that. None of that at all. So in that way, no.
Okay.
He doesn't fit the stereotype. The only thing is our sex life did dwindle over the course of the decade that we were together. It slowed down. But I saw that as a long-term relationship. I thought that was a normal thing that happens. I had other friends who were going through the same situation. So that was really the only clue, if you want to even call that a clue.
Yeah. Gail, how often does this sort of thing happen? I mean, according to what Natalie said, quite a bit, but
Right.
Why would someone want to live a lie for that long?
You know, it often starts because they're lying to themselves, because still today, unfortunately, it's hard for people to come out. It's potentially a harder lifestyle. They feel people's disapproval, and it's internalized. They don't want to be gay, even though that's really what's going on. And because there's really sort of a continuum, if you will, of sexuality, and you can have, you know, great attraction to a member of the same sex mostly, but still somewhat be attracted to, you know, the opposite sex. It's not so black and white. It's not so defined. So you can say to yourself, you know, well, maybe this isn't so. I don't want it to be so. So I'm going to say it's not. And people live secret lives of all kinds, and this is one of them. Unfortunately, it usually leads to real depression, to betrayal, and a lot of hurt.
Do you think, Kiri, that you would have felt differently had he had an affair with a woman as opposed to a man?
Well, I tell everyone it's probably an equal amount of devastation, but in different ways. So with a man or men, you don't get competitive, like, ooh, you know, what does she have that I don't? You know what a man has that you don't. But in another way, I almost felt like I couldn't get as angry because I felt like I had to in some way almost support his choice or his decision, even though he'd been cheating on me. So you're almost not able to be as angry as you would be if it was a woman. So that was kind of strange.
And maybe, go ahead.
I think women often, you know, in this situation end up feeling very humiliated. You know, it's sort of like, why did this what does this mean about me? Why did he pick me? And I think that leaves you very angry, you know, to be really shamed, leaves you very, very angry. And then what do you do with it? It's not, you can't sort of fight for the guy to come back to you.
Right.
And so how do you, you know, how do you deal with that?
Well, you dealt with it by really sort of drinking a lot
Yeah,
for a while.
I sort of self-destructed for a while.
Sleeping with a lot of guys. You write in your book. I mean,
well, it depends on your definition of a lot. But yeah, I went a little crazy because I think I had a psychotic break with reality. When the reality that you know for so long turns out to be not the reality that you thought, it's almost like I just had a psychotic break, and I didn't know how to be alone anymore. So for me to sit in my apartment for a couple hours and watch TV was impossible. I would have to go out to a bar, you know, and just be around people and drink and yeah.
And this isn't only about sexuality. This was about fidelity as well, not
Correct.
just sexual orientation. And that's the issue. When he told his friends, a lot of people said, well, thank goodness you could come out. They weren't even angry about the fact that he had cheated on Carrie.
But that's the problem is, this is not living a life of integrity. For, you know, it's not being true to yourself. It's not being true to a commitment that you made. That's really the bigger issue. I mean, frankly, had he come to you, it still would have been painful. But had he come to you and said, you know, I'm gay, we're not going to be able to stay together, I have to leave, and then gotten into a relationship, it would have had a very different feeling. So you're right, the betrayal is a big part of the problem.
Carrie Blakely, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Gail as well, thanks so
you.
much. The book is called Can't Think Straight. We'll be back right after this.